on the Brett Allen Show, we are talking about this really great film on Netflix, Atlas, a big tentpole summer film starring J Lo, Jennifer Lopez, and also our guest Adia Smith-Eriksson. She plays Ranger West opposite of Lopez and Sterling K. Brown. I love a good summer action sci-fi film, edge of your seat, with lots of explosions and all the things. I remember a few years ago, maybe a little bit less, this was being made and we were talking about it, and it's here now. Thank you for your time. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I'll just start right out of the gate. How fun was this for you? You've done other cool projects, but this is a big one. How exciting is it for you to be a part of such a massive film? And hopefully, we'll get more of this at some point.
Honestly, it was just such a mind-blowing experience getting to work with these people, be like sharing, sharing the space. And I hadn't quite understood just how big of a project it was until I arrived, and I was like, oh my God. Like, oh, there's JLo, there's Sterling. All right, we're doing this thing, it's pretty cool.
So, how well adjusted are you when you show up and you're sharing scenes? I mean, it's hard. I understand you're a professional. Obviously, you've done this before.
Well, thank
You've
you.
done it for a while, but you see these massive, you've got, Jenny from the block and, Sterling Kane Brown from This Is Us. So it's like excitement all around. For
Yeah.
sure. I would freak out if it was me, honestly, probably.
I mean, I have to say, it's one of those things that's kind of surreal, but then you have to also remind yourself that, like, look, I also earned the right to be here. Like, this is
You
like,
have.
I auditioned, they chose me, and like, you could just kind of come and do your thing. That's what we're all there to do, is create something amazing together.
I love what you said in that you earned the right to be there, which is
Mm.
true. You've worked hard, you auditioned. I'm sure one of those two, if not both, had some sort of say in you getting there. So that's a big deal. So you're there and you're working with them. What is that like to share scenes with these guys? And like in some cases, like it's interesting, like you see where people work with A-listers
Mm.
and but they're not necessarily in the same room, or it's kind of like you're in space at a comm station and they're like in a studio in
Yeah.
West Hollywood
Yeah.
filming their scenes. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like it's not that, it's just how they do things, but you're actually there in studio on
Yeah.
location with them,
Everyone was
which
there.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, you're actually it's not like Heat where the rumors were like Al Pacino and Robert De Niro never shared the screen together physically. So it's cool, right? It's fun. You have to be on your A game, right?
Yeah, definitely. But I think also they were so welcoming. I mean, Sterling's just like pure jokes as well, and like definitely like brings out the fun in the work as well. So I don't feel like, and they never felt like it was a lot of pressure on everyone. Like it felt like, as I said, like we were a team. We came there together to do this thing, and I was really happy with how it turned out.
So tell me about Ranger West. How do you come up, create this character? Obviously, there are certain things on paper, but you also have a very big part. It's a significant role. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mm.
how are you working on this and deciding how you want to tackle it? Do you get into character, or is it purely just reliant upon your great talent that got you here to this role?
Well, I mean, once you're in it, like once you have, like, you're dressed up in the outfit, you're showing up and you're in this space, and it's like, oh, I'm Ranger West, right? And once the cameras start rolling, it's like, okay, this is me, this is who I am right now. And it's like, uh, yeah, I mean, honestly, I kind of channeled like my badass mom, and I'm like, okay, how would she act in this moment, like being all cool. And like I was, slightly unpleasant towards JLo initially, towards Atlas, when she's giving us the briefing, but then I felt like I had a bit of a redemption arc, so hopefully my character is somewhat more lovable by the end of my time on screen.
I think so, because you're not very nice at first. But again,
Yeah.
it's just a perception of like what we see, but we
Mm,
don't really know the why at first until we watch this and then we go, okay, I get it. But yeah,
mm,
I think there's definitely a redemptive portion to the story,
yeah.
for sure, which is a lot of fun. So I'm interested to know, oftentimes there's like multiple journeys, like there's the auditioning and then there's getting ready and then there's filming. Sometimes they're together, sometimes they're separate. Do you feel like for you as an artist and actor that it was multiple journeys to get here, or was it just all one long journey from audition to getting cast to filming it and now it's out for people to see?
Well, I mean, my agent sends the audition initially, and you never really know like exactly what it is you're auditioning for. It's like, okay, this is some like Netflix project. Okay, like you're not really. It's very vague. And then you
You
throw
know
it
there's
off
gonna be
out.
probably a big budget because
I had
it's
no idea. Like I
okay,
really
so
had
you
no
just
idea it
really
was
do
going to
know
be
much.
to this. Yeah, and then I mean, you just like actors do. You throw out these auditions. You have no idea what's going to stick. And then it was kind of a fun thing. I just go about my life, and then my agent reaches out again. It's like, oh, they really liked you, but like they want it in another accent, and you're like, oh, okay. And so it's like, oh wow, this is becoming real. Okay, sending in another, and I was like in Sweden trying to rush around and find all the stuff to like do my self tape because I had technically booked out for that time because I was going home to visit my family just for like a week. And so yeah, and I realized that like it's so much easier to get all the tools necessary to do like self tapes in the US or in LA, where like there's so many actors around. So I think like there are a lot more shops to supply the things, but trying to run around in Stockholm getting these supplies was really hard. And then like I'm freaking out and like, oh my God, I'm not gonna get this tape done in time. And yeah, it was really funny that it just kind of all came together and I sent in that second tape and literally the day I was going to fly back to LA, my agent sends me another email like, good morning, got some fun news. and I booked Atlas, and it was just such an insane feeling to be like, wow, I mean like that I was going to get to be on this project. And yeah, I was very happy and grateful to have this.
Absolutely. So you were born in England, raised in Sweden, and you're an LA based actor.
Yeah.
So fill us in on the yada yada, like how you got to become a storyteller and actor, like what made you take this crazy risk and journey and decide, which obviously has paid off with projects like this. Like what drew you in? I have to know.
Well, honestly, my mom kind of got me started when I was 4. I
Okay.
was doing like a weekend performing arts school, like musical theater and stuff. And it's kind of all I've known. But then I like after, I mean, I kind of went to like a glee school type thing in Stockholm where it's like you have performing arts, but then you have like it's a real school too. And that's just kind of all I've done. But then once I hit like 18, 19, I was like, you know what, is this really what I want to do? And so I tried something else. I studied Japanese for a bit at university. I was like in a teaching program and then ended up helping out with the school production anyway. And then I was like, well, I didn't really get very far. So I was just like, you know what, this is what I really want to do. I really enjoy it, obviously. And I just decided to go all in. And so
Now, I love it.
yeah,
I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that your mom is karate trained and she's a former police officer. So
yeah.
when you say you channel your mom, you really did, right? Like
Oh,
you had
she's so
sources.
cool. She's so cool. It was
Is she
one
still
of those things
active or
growing
she's
up where
done?
like literally the kids would come over to hang out with my mom because she was like the cool, the cool mom. So like, yeah, she's awesome.
I love it. So what do they think of you now that you've obtained this success? I mean, as I mentioned at the beginning, you've done other television and film things, but this is a big one. So do they support the dream? Obviously, early on they did, but what
Mm-hmm.
do they think now that you've experienced like, this massive success?
I mean, she called me in tears actually. It was like super proud of me. And it was such a warming experience, like have to be able to show them that, like, hey, I followed my dream and thank you guys for like being so supportive, right? And you're seeing that like things are starting to happen. I mean, I'm still, you know, starting out, but like it's like a step, you know, each step leads you just like a little bit closer to achieving that goal. And so it's just nice for them to be able to see that like I'm making those steps. I'm slowly making that progress, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because when I was during 2020,
Mm,
when the pandemic hit, it was like if you go back and listen to a lot of our interviews, you
mm,
know, with actors and things, a lot of the common thread of conversation was, man, if I went to LA now during this time, I would turn around in the car and go back because I mean, it's already hard and the percentage level is so small of people that actually get the opportunity. I mean, there's a
mm,
lot of talented people that nobody will ever hear of, but like for you getting the breaks to be able to do this is like a big deal because you obviously made an impression on these people.
mm.
So the casting pool and casting director pool in LA is big, but it's also very small, but they know you and they
Yeah.
know what they can do. You can do, and they've trusted you with like being in the same room with Jennifer Lopez and Sterling Brown. So
Yeah.
they know what you can do. So that has to feel good and motivate you, yeah, for the next big thing.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I hope this just is like the start of future action projects. I really do love action. I'm realizing that that's 100% like where I want to be. It's so much fun. I think just like the adrenaline rush of like doing stunts or whatever like may come. Like I just yeah, I definitely enjoy those kind of films.
And I think it helps too, like with the imagination part of things. You're a
Mm,
comic book enthusiast. So, like,
yes.
do you have favorite authors, people that you like to read?
Brian K. Vaughan, if you've heard of
Okay.
him. He's the one that did Saga. I think most of his things, like I loved Saga. Saga is my favorite comic of all time. But I also did like Y the Last Man and Paper Girls, if you've read any of those ones.
Oh, yeah, very
But then I
familiar.
think the close second would be Robert Kirkman, the author of Walking Dead, and he also did Invincible. So I mean, like he is, I definitely read my fair share of comics.
When you were starting out, did you ever make efforts or have your team make efforts to get you into The Walking Dead or even now with all the spin-offs and things like we've had multiple cast members from that show, including Chandler Riggs recently who played Carl. I'm just wondering,
Ah,
yeah, yeah. So have you
um,
ever like thought about that? Like, is that a dream project to work in that
I mean,
world
that'd be
somewhere
pretty
somehow?
cool. Although, I mean, Walking Dead itself is wrapped now, though, right? I mean, it
It
would be
is,
like
but
this one of the
I mean,
spin-off shows.
there's already been mention of two more spin-offs. That's why I
Hmm.
ask, like, that world since you love
Yeah.
Kirkman. Yeah, that's cool. Um, well, I love your work. You've done such great things. Last
Thank you.
question, absolutely. Like, what is maybe some of the best advice you've been given either by your mom or an other actor or a director that has really like solidified you in this world as an actor and kind of motivates you to keep going, you know, and want to do this?
I mean, just keep putting in the work, honestly. Like, stay true to who you are, and like, I think people will see your talent, right? You just have to keep trying, because I mean, the moment you take your foot off the gas, like, you know, it's just I don't know. I mean, it kind of is unfortunately the nature of this industry, right? Like, it's one of those things where it's a gamble. You never know how things are gonna go. But like, I mean, I was watching this interview with Seth Rogen the other day where he was saying like a friend of his decided to just quit acting and do something else. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And then now like that friend's like one of the most successful actors out there is doing a lot of big projects. And it's like it really is like that. You never know how things are gonna play out. So yeah, just never give up, honestly.
It's a really good interview. I know which one you're referring to. It's like he's
Yeah.
talking about people who are wildly successful that never
Mm.
quit and people that quit that could have been wildly successful
Yeah,
because you just have to keep doing it. It's like this, it's like anything else in the creative space, right? Like you just can't
yeah.
give up. And I imagine there's probably been a lot of times where you felt like you did want to give up, or
Especially the
have you never?
pandemic.
Yeah, for sure. Or even the
Mm.
actor strike recently that we went through that
Mm.
lasted. We were just barely coming back from lockdown and pandemic, and then a strike happens, and it's like
Yeah.
a world that you're in. It's not like the traditional 8 to 5 by any stretch of the
Yeah.
imagination.
I
Um,
mean, it was rough. I feel like the difference between, like, for me with the pandemic and the strike, like, I mean, the pandemic, I think, if anything, really took it out of me because it was just like, it just felt like it was never ending. I'm sure a lot of people felt that too, right? You were like secluded, isolated from your loved ones. Like, I'm all the way over here. My family's been in Sweden and I wasn't really seeing them. And I was just like, what am I doing here by myself? And it's just like, is this really what I want to do? And so that for me was the moment of like hesitation, right? But I think the strike felt like more like there was hope, there was light at the end of the tunnel. So I don't feel as like disheartened by it. I mean, obviously it was not a fun time for anyone, but like I could somewhat glimpse like there was a light at the end of the tunnel in a
Very
different
true.
way.
Well, yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, you're awesome. I can't wait. If people haven't watched this already, just head over to Netflix and check it out. It's really good, and I mean, just uh, it's so much fun. Your cast again. Other things you've done, of course, Odd Man Rush, Barry Bull. I mean, just really great things.
Thank
Samu Lee,
you.
of course, is in this. Sterling K. Brown, and of course Jennifer Lopez. Yeah, of course, you rock. Come back when you're a big movie star, please. We would love to have you.
Thank
Um,
you.
it's always fun to watch. I mean, you're already successful by every measure, but I joke a little bit, but please do come back. We
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today. This is
absolutely
lovely.
congratulations on the project, and check out all the other work she's done. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it.